Hello. Later, I was reading some text, and a question came in mind in terms of how writing style should be used for a series. What we will deem as a series content. What I'm speaking about is more than in the modern sense would be more around the objective style of writing. What does it mean? What does it mean, objective style of writing? In today's context, it seems to be that the writer should be devoid from the text as much as possible. You need to write in third person and 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 such. You shouldn't have show your inclination to the subject or what you find interesting or focuses you. I personally come from history, so in history, to me it seems to derive a lot from the actors, how one does appreciate the historical actors that he researched. What does he look for, and why does it interest him? Is the an important question, in my opinion, and should be reflected on the text. But I would, but I think it's still a lot of question on how how you present a text because of that. I mean, the alternative from history at least for the historical type of writing would be writing in more narrative manner with more descriptions and trying to posit the reader in the world that you describe. Such writing, I believe, can be seen a lot from the more phenomenological side of the writing style that that try to relate that seems to try to relate a person to the environment. For example, as in a subject in Hiroshima, the text guide you through the streets and through the world. Try for me to understand a greater truth from showing the being itself in the world. How the being itself in the world will or can understand it. What reveal upon it and what hide from it. Um, as I think that the subject require more than just my the level of this speak. I would like to enter some writers that attack. It's not necessarily from historical ground, but in a general sense, because that style of writing is not just in history; it's in a lot of subjects. For a lot of time, there it seems that the effort to write in poetical manner seems to be count as bad, as not productive enough. That's what I doubt, I guess. The text, the main text that rise to me the question. It's a text by Leon Alberti Battista, and people, what people might call someone from the Renaissance that wrote a book called Momus. It's about the prince. In general terms, it seems to be more on self-correcting in the overall past, or there is some sort of this weird combination between the theological to the personal to the political. Um, that more oversight as I read the text itself, but the preface itself have some. interesting commentary on the writing itself, on what should such text achieve. I used the translation of Sarah Knight from 2003. It's released by Harvard in the Renaissance library editions. The, pre, the text goes as follows: The prince and maker of creation, best and greater God, has distributed all things most worthy of admiration to his creatures in such a way that each one might be allotted some portion of the praises due to divine excellence. Yet it is perfectly obvious that he wanted to keep uniquely alone the fullest for himself alone, the fullest abundance of undiminished divinity. He bestowed power on the stars, radiance on the sky, beauty on the world, reason and immortality on souls, allotting marvelous gifts individually to each being. But he wanted to be the only one possessed of an undiminished, perfect, and concentrated virtue, whose equal who is whose equal you may never find. This uniqueness, unless I am mistaken, must be deemed the primary characteristic of divinity. Only God is uniquely one and uniquely set apart from all else. Hence, it was that all things rare and unique were regarded by the ancient as practically divine. Antiquity attributed freakish events, omens, portents, and the like to agency of God simply because they occurred rarely. From the beginning of human memory down to the present day, people have noticed that nature seems always to have marked the greatest and strangest thing elegantly on a grand scale without there also being rare. Hence, too, perhaps our tendency to label some people as divine, right? To as divine when you notice them excelling the rest genius and turning aside from the crowd, becoming expansional and thus rare. Nature teaches us to hold such persons in honor and admire them as nearly godlike. The same nature make us understand that all things rare have, have a taste of divinity insofar as they incline toward the godlike, and so may be considered unique and truly exceptional, worth separating off from numbering and associating with other things. I could enumerate many things that have been thought valuable simply because they were unique. To put other cases aside, how many works by ancient writers do you suppose would win approval if they left an impression of beauty and the commonplace? On the other hand, what will not be read with greatest pleasure and admiration if it is understood to belong to the class of things that are unpredictable and difficult, not to say neglected and jeered at by the rest. So I think it is the duty of the writer to undertake to write nothing that his prospective readers will find familiar and obvious. That being so, it still doesn't escape me just how difficult and almost impossible it is to introduce an idea that has not already been discovered and handled by a good many out of infinite swarm of writers. Think think of the old proverb, nothing is said which has previously been said. For this reason, it is my considered opinion that the man who introduced new, unheard of, and unorthodox material, whoever he happens to be, should be considered a member of this rare genus of humankind. Next to this sort of writer will rank the one who uses an original and surprising literary genre to treat known and common ideas. So I would lay it down that, if we shall ever be granted someone who equips his reader to enjoy a better life, instructing them with weighty sayings and varied and choice material, while at the same time charming them with laughter, pleasing them with joke, and di- diverting them with pleasure, if being among the Latin author has not hitherto happened often enough, then I think the author should certainly not be ranked with the common, ordinary writer. I wish I had enough wit to apply my zeal and effort to this one objective, which is beyond doubt a difficult one to achieve. Possibly I should then succeed in making you understand more clearly that I am turning my head to a philosophical genre of sort, and one by no means to be displayed. Indeed, I have learned from this same endeavor how much effort it requires when you take pains to pains to be different from the rest, by whatever means, while maintaining dignity and seriousness. But if you take it upon yourself to write in this way, this is so to perspective humorous tone even when you are dealing with high and serious matter, to be original besides being well-read. You'll surely find that this involves more labor and difficulty than the uninitiated might imagine. And indeed, there are those who, while aiming at unique clarity of which I speak, say things that are rather banal and commonplace, presenting them, however, behind a mask of high seriousness, in order to be thought praiseworthy. I, on the other hand, have worked and to make my reader laugh, but also to make them feel they are involved in a thorough inquiry into and worthwhile explanation of real life. How far I have achieved my aim is yours to decide when you read my work. If you feel that serious and important subjects have been rendered more amusing and pleasant when seasoned with elegant and playful style of mine, then you will read it with great pleasure, if I mistake not. But it will not lead us astray to explain the rationale behind my undertaking by undertaking, so as to make the work clearer and more comprehensible. Let me let me justify. Two, my reason for introducing God and why I have taken advantage of the poetic license while writing the story in a prose. I noticed that the ancient writers used to philosophize this way. By the means of God, they wished their readers to understand those mental qualities which compel us toward one or another course of action. For this purpose they used Pluto, Venus, Mars, and blind Cupid, and on the other side Pallas, Jove, Hercules, and gods like that. The, the former group represent the attraction and defects of desire and pleasure, arousal and frenzy, while the latter represent the strength of mind and power of liberation by which our rational soul are steeped in virtue or checked by reason, over time behave unworthily, scheming and doing corrupt, heedless things. Consequently, since there is usually a relentless and enormous conflict between these qualities in the souls of men, it is no surprise that Homerus, Pindarus, Sophocles, and the best poets ushered them onto the onto the stages if they were gods. But there will be another opportunity for discussing these matters if I ever come to write of sacred matters and gods. As I am undertaking to write to right of the prince who governs the entire body politic like mind and rational soul, have employed the gods therefore in imitation of the poet, using the name of gods I have designated as it were ironically characters that are grasping and woeful, pleasure-seeking, uneducated, frivolous, and suspicious, and on the other hand, characters that are serious, mature, steadfast, active, clever, painstaking, and thrifty. I show what sort of men they will become on their life's journey, and in the course of their affair, depending on whatever they enter upon, one or another kind of life, and by extension, what praise or blame, glory or maturity, what political stability or overturning of fortune, rank, and the sort it follows upon the choice of life. Unless love for my own work deceive me, in these four in these four books you will find not only numbers of ideas which have in view the shaping of the best sort of prince, I also include not a few things which pertain to analyzing the behavior of the prince in and entourage. Perhaps you will miss the flatterers who crowd the palaces of princes, but I deliberately left them out, since the ancient poet, especially the comedian, describes them copiously. I am so enable myself to act like a flatterer, that occasionally I will lay myself open to criticism for having left our worthy and apposite opportunities for praise of deserving people. I choose this to avoid the appearance of imitating in any way the kind of man I sorely detest. Whatever this is a mistake on my part, I leave to you to decide. For who doesn't pay compliments when writing a preface? Who doesn't try to applaud his dedica- dedicative so that in accordance with the ancient and prescribed law of prefaces, they induce him to embellish decorously his theme with fictional blandishments. I represent you with a bare preface, and I have enumerated none of your very considerable, indeed great virtue, and I have done what those who know both you and me will not criticize. In any case, you yourself do everything possible to ensure that your virtue, thanks to rumor and reputation, is gained marvelously in every ear and mouth, to earn its fruit abundantly with posterity. You do not need the help of others in a matter, but by nothing and collecting your word and deeds, I prefer, as far as I can, to appropriate you in all my volumes and to commend you to lovers of literature. Thus they will possess a man whom they would distinguish themselves to imitate, rather than, if I may put it this way, compelling him with inconsequential flattery. But enough of this. For the rest, when you read me at your leisure, should you read and proceed according to my wish and your expectation, I will be flattered every time you will pause to laugh. I hope too that you, you will admire the wit and arrangement of my fictions, whatever you laugh. Not infrequently, I trust, at, uh, at the jokes and elegance that fill the whole story. And so read on, above all, to enjoy yourself, and secondly, so that you may willingly and with pleasure show flavor both of my zeal and my nocturnal labors. Be happy. Now, I'm not saying that you can just take the text in. Now, I'm not saying that you can just take this part and reflect it on today life. So it's a bit anachronistic, but I think there is some sort of tension here between the writing in serious manner, articles, essays. To me, it seems to try to aim here at more the scholastic writing, but not only. And, to write about in a more open manner. I think it's an interesting question, but as, as such writing can show, this is with the addition of my part, such writing will show a lot more on the author as well, and will teach the reader a lot more. You know what moved the soul of the person, and what tried to check, what he looked for, what is focus, and what he tried to, and what he dis, discussed in his research or in his writing. And as noted here, we do think that there is value for the text being readable in enjoyable manner. But in personally, the interest of the reader is important to present ideas. And we also point out that will be a bit outside of discussion. Another interesting subject that we point out here, it's it's some of the hardship you have when creating and reflecting a new idea, when showing something new. It's tend to a lot of time you see such thinkers go to create a language in the future. You see them, for example, a lot of the German idealism. It's creating its own language there, which it is an interesting endeavor in itself. The it's you or they try to go from more philosophize from more aesthetical grounds, what call today aesthetical ground, such in poetry or in more prose-like. For example, Steinberg book Historical Miniatures is a fascinating book that have a more deep ideas, but it's presented in far more narrative manner. It's it's place anachronistic as much as it does it. Certain people in the same in the same time, for example, in the ancient Greek part, he plays Jewish and Jewish and he plays Jewish Socrates, Pericles, and such actors together. Of course, we have no account of such things, but it presents Susan the idea style that he conceived of its time. He also, by reading it, you could, and by reading it in such manner, you can, uh, it explore also a lot more on him as well as what he prays or what he ignore, what the sources that he go to. For example, when it comes to Socrates, he go for something that today will be less traditional. You go for Xenophon account. in the banquet that such that Socrates describe on how beauty it is, and he did it in quite satirical manner. Um, if I remember correctly, his eyes are like scorpion pointing out so you can see everything in a clear manner and things like that. It's, it's quite satirical image, but it's user. So so clearly it seems that he read it, he did find interest in Xenophon for one thing and find him as a smart person that or someone that you should come for when, when learning about Socrates. And such a particulars I think are in the core of the writing. In today world, I'm not sure how it will transfer like, to what we call today natural science. I believe I don't think there is a bit different as the tries are a bit different, but in terms of what moved the writers, perhaps it could be an interesting experiment in itself. Not su- the the argument against it is productive, the productivity is so in a lot of cases, but to me it seems that it will in some subjects it will also reveal a lot more that only being obfuscated by this mask of seriousness. The fact that you write in objective manner doesn't mean that you are objective all of a sudden, or you removed all your worldliness from the writing and you discard the thing as itself. Not, not at all. You are still you are still have such biases or interests and emotions that move you through your writings and research. You only mask them. They are either in the background or maybe even unchecked, and you left and what you left with is something a bit different. And you and the reader can't even grasp it in some cases. You can see it in a lot of in sort of ideas, for example, sometimes things like nationality or specific pet theories that such writer have will be in the background of things. You wouldn't say them outright in most cases, but they will be there, and by reading it, you will be able to notice it. So it's not that it's even done with the objective writing. For example, if someone go to the fact that someone tried to say to argue for the Renaissance in the Renaissance of the 12th century, and and try to dispute the understanding of Renaissance that Bucca placed upon in his book Italian in the Renaissance, if I remember correctly, in English translation, and and also go for more theological parts, say a lot on what reflect on the core on a good mirror, what would be deemed as a good mirror to the life at the time, what he what he find an interest in the time as well. And I will end I will end my remark with certain the introduction Xenophon put in his book, in his version of the banquet, which also play on the same role of serious and mighty men that are merely living in more of a sailing oceans or in a party almost. It's Xenophon Symposium 1, sources will be in the in the comment. To my mind, to my mind, it is worthwhile to relate not only to serious act of great and good men, but also what they do in the lighter mood. I should like to narrate an experience of mine that gave me this conviction. The banquet itself will play a lot on themes for example, that Socrates dance, and what does dance give the man in terms of a goal, and as in terms of end. And Socrates would argue there that it's training, that he do it every morning, moving each and every part of his body in a strong manner. And the sort of clown there will satirize it to such degree that he will move in such odd ways. So the writing itself is very playful, and in, in that regard, it's more biographical tone such comedy. But, but in terms of but we the, when you write in serious manner, it also can might foreshadow that sometimes people are not as serious. And if you try to display the subject, describe a certain person, maybe the playful style and the playful writing could show more reflection on the person itself. In case of Alberti, I think that he tried to reflect to oneself. So maybe it will also, in more self-help science way, it will also will help reflect on yourself, one on himself as well, or learn on himself by the text. I will live, I will live in this now.